because my ex-girlfriend, for the benefit of some, was sentenced to 8 years at hard labour in absentia for leaving the socialist Czech Republic to see what the rest of the world looked like. That was a major crime. I'd also like to point out that you're right. In the socialist systems, unemployment rates were very low.
Yeah.
But that's
same with the crime rates. We had a 2.8% crime rate. I remember being, 4 or 5 years old, walking across the entire town to see my grandmother or to go to play somewhere, and nobody gave a damn. And I didn't have my cell phone, and my mom was like, she couldn't care because there was no crime. There was no people who fetched me off the street. There were no people who raped kids. There were no people because...
Is that a small town? Big town?
No, big town. It's the second biggest town in the area. There was just no crime rate because the punishment was so hard. People were too scared. When I come in Singapore, I lived in Singapore as well. Most modern dictatorship I've ever lived in.
Yes.
And you know what? Crime rate super low because you get freaking hanged or lashed for when you do something wrong. You know.
I just wanted to point out one of the major reasons why unemployment was so low was the government stacked companies with far more employees than they needed and were therefore unprofitable simply to keep that employment level low. Had they been staffed properly, unemployment would have been much higher.
That is very much true.
Same
This
in
is where it
Japan.
collapses because if there's no exchange, if there's no export and import, this is when it collapses. There's only so much you can accumulate amongst like your own distribution.
Yes.
Of growing up with a full working mother, having like this whole childcare support system in East Germany, I'm basically standalone and looking after myself ever since first grade, the age of 6 years old. So I come home, I do my own homework because I've been drilled to do so. I've been taught to be autonomous. And I come home, I clean the kitchen, 6 years old, clean the kitchen, cook dinner for my mom to come home at 4 or 5 p.m. All these things, you know, I did not have the child kind of life as you would see these days. Like there's no play dates and such things. They all happened on the weekend. When I moved to West Germany, because when the war came down, economy comes down, my mom lost her job and she moved us to the better world, to the Golden Western. And well, turns out they all have like moms and dads, and moms stay home and they are like super protected and they have no autonomous lifestyle whatsoever. So being by then at the age of 12, basically a small adult, and having to deal with all these like, well, excuse the language, but like, you know, turf hats, you know, not knowing anything about, you know, they're 12 and they're still a kid. And that was very much different to me, to experience 12-year-old children compared to like a 12-year mini soldier adult kind of version of myself. I'm super, super proud, having grown up there until the age of 7, having been brought up with the system of, you know, following rules, being taught like authority and all these things. You know, I'm super proud of this and I love that. And this is definitely something I will implement when I once have children in my life. They will have a good chunk of that. I will like, you know, hand that down and trying to enforce as much of those values I've been taught as possible, even though they are going to be exposed to like this absolutely unauthoritative world. Because I choose ever since I'm 25 to not listen to news because it's very polluting and it's not telling me the truth. It is not displaying what is actually happening in the world.
May I suggest that that is actually the East German in you that is basically saying, the news is telling me lies, no point in watching it. They used to say, back when the USSR was a thing, that one of the critical differences between the Americans and the Russians is that the Americans believed every word their government ever said to them, but the Russians knew they were being lied to.
And also, it probably has been triggered by the fact that I have lived in the United States for most of my 20s, and it's just seeing it as a spectator, seeing it as someone who's not being brainwashed from birth.
It's pretty scary, isn't it?
It's super scary, and for so many other reasons I left, and I'm still battling if I ever should return because my sister still lives there. For me, it's my home by heart, but it's hard. It's hard.